Awesome. Let's dive in now. I want to believe that you've done that and you're good with creating or working with the make table query. Now I want to introduce you to two more queries, which are action queries. And number one is a query that is able to delete records from your database. Imagine you wanted to delete all the records from your database, and then the only way to delete them is come here, you right click, and then you click delete. You go to the next record, you right click, and then you click delete record. That is going to take a lot of time. You're going to waste a lot of time. So you can run a query that will wipe out all the records in your table. I'm going to show you how to do that. We call it action query because it takes specific action. In this case, the action is wipe out all your records in a given table. How to do it? Let's get into it. Let's close this. Now you go to create menu, and then you come to query design. We want to wipe out all the data that is in staff 3. We want to delete them. So you pick staff 3. That's the table whose data we want to delete. And then you click add and then close. Now at this point you go to design menu, and then you pick delete query. This is it. This query whose job is to delete data. So you pick delete query. Once you pick delete query, you don't come here and insert all the fields. No, you have to be very careful. All you do, once you make sure, we go back to design, when you make sure you've selected delete query, all you do when you come here is, you see this asterisk here, small asterisk here at the top here. You click it, and then you hold the left mouse key down without releasing it. Drag the asterisk down, drag down, move your mouse pointer down. When you get to this place called field, release your mouse pointer. Once you release it, it is going to place staff 3 here. Okay, then once you do that, you can now come back here, and now you can double click the fields and enter those fields in the query grid here. So just double click that one, you double click that one, you double click that one, double click that one, double click that one, scroll up. We have staff mail, department, position. So once you double click them, you notice now this query looks different. Query, you have where. Now what we want to do is, if you have specific records that you want to delete, you can enter them here under where. You enter the serial number, you enter the staff number of the record that you want, you enter the staff name and all that. That way you can pick very specific records and delete them. But in this case, we want to delete all of them. So we're not going to enter anything here. We want to wipe every data that is found in staff 3. So we now run the query. You go to design, and then you click run. And you get this warning that you are about to wipe out data or to delete 7 records from the specific table. You say yes, you want to do that. You click yes. Once you click yes, already that data has been deleted. We will confirm later by opening that table to see whether the data is there. In the meantime, let's close this query, and let's click save. We want to save the query, and let's call the query delete. Now notice this query is action query, so you don't open action query. If you open, it's like you will be running it again. So it will go ahead and try to delete records again. So you don't run it, you just save it, say okay. And so you're good to have it here. So you don't try to open. If you try to open, you'll be running it, and it's supposed to go and delete again. It has already deleted, so you don't want to do that. What you need to do is you need to open your table, which was staff 3, and see whether it has record or they have been deleted. Let's double click and open it and check. Here it is. It's squeaky clean. Whatever was there, it has been wiped out. So the job of that query is to delete records from a table. Okay, let's do it again just to make sure that you get the process. Let's wipe out all the data that is in staff 2. If I open staff 2, notice it has records. We want to delete all these records. Okay, let's go to create again. We go to design, query design. We are interested in wiping the data in staff 2. So click staff 2. You can also wipe the data in staff, and you can do, actually let's wipe the data in staff. Click staff, add, close. Now you go to design at this point and you pick delete. You have to be very specific. The query that you are running, so you're running delete. Then after that, you can see this asterisk here. Click and hold down the left mouse button. You're clicking on the asterisk. Hold it down the left mouse button. You drag your mouse pointer to this field here. And once you get there, not below here, first field there, you release. Then it's entered there. And then from there, just double click and enter these fields on your query grid. Normally the way we've been doing it, so double click to enter them. We have contact, staff, email, department, and position. Okay, make sure all the fields are entered correctly, and make sure you don't have double entry. Then from there, that's it. You go back to design menu and then you run the query. You run the query and you get this information. It's about to wipe out all the data on the table called staff. You say yes. You close the query. Save the changes on the query. You click yes. And then you can call the query delete staff, so that you know that query was meant to delete all the records on table called staff. Click OK. The query will be saved here, but like I said, don't open the query. If you open the query, it's like running the query to repeat that action, and you don't want to do that. The action is already done. All you need to do now is open staff and see whether there's anything there. Double click, nothing. It has been wiped out squeaky clean. But when you go to staff 2, we still have our data there. So that is how you run delete query. It's very simple. Now, if you need a minute or two to practice that, pause this video lesson and go ahead and do that. What we're going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and show you APEND query, and then I'm going to give you enough time to practice that. Then after that, we shall meet in the next video lesson. So pause this video lesson, go ahead, practice that if you want time to practice that immediately. Otherwise, let's go ahead and do APEND query, and then you take your time to practice both of those queries. So I'm going to close this. Let's talk about APEND query. Assume that you have these tables. You have this table called staff. It doesn't have any data. You have this table called staff 2. It has data. And staff 3 and staff 2 are similar. They are a copy of each other. The question is, how can I get all the records in staff 2 and put them back in staff 3? There are two ways you can do it. You can go to staff 2, check every record that is here, and go and type it back in staff 3. That can take a whole day, especially if staff 2 has a lot of data. Typing this data one at a time is going to take a lot of time. The other method is very easy, and it's to run a query that we call APEND query. APEND query will pick data And append query works with the two tables that are similar. Similar meaning they are exact copy of each other. They look alike. So the job of append query is pick records from one table and put those records in another table if that other table is similar. Okay, and so we're going to run that query that you pick all the data in staff 2 and put that data in staff. Remember, we wiped all the data in staff. There's nothing. So good to get all the data in staff 2 and put them back in staff, meaning staff 2 now will have its data and staff 3, or rather staff, will have its data. Staff doesn't have any data, but it's similar to staff 2. So pick all the data in staff 2 and you put that data in staff. So now we will have two tables, staff 2 and staff, which have similar data. To do that, we run an append query. Let me show you how this one works. Let's close them, close these ones, and let's go to create, and then you go to query design, and then let's pick the table that has data. Here is the tricky part. At this point, you don't pick the one without the data, you pick the one with the data. In our case, we know staff 2 has data. So click staff 2, then you click add, then you click close. Once you've done that, at this point, pick the query that you want to work with. So you go to design menu, and then you pick append. We want to work with the append query. That will pick records from one table and put those records in another similar table. So you click append query. It will pull out a window here just like make table, but this time round you cannot type here what you want. What this query is asking is, which table do you want me to put the data, or which table do you want me to add the data from staff 2 here. So you click here, you don't type anything, you just click here, and you're going to see all your tables. So you pick the one that is blank, which is staff. Okay, so you're telling, or this database designed to pick data from staff 2 and put it on staff. Then just click OK. Once you do that, you enter these fields. You just double click the fields. Let's double click the field. Let's enter them on the query grid. Double click the fields. Contact, we have staff mail, department, and position. Now you notice now it's going to have this query grid looks different. This append 2. So here it's indicating that the data is coming from staff 2, but it's going to be appended on staff. Okay, so here it's going, what you can see, what you're seeing here, serial number, staff number, is all the fields that are in staff which are going to receive the data that you're getting from staff 2. So once you have entered those fields, you go to design, and then you run. Click run. You get a message telling you that you are about to append. The word append basically means add or increase. So it is going to add all those records to staff which doesn't have any record. You say yes, and then you close the query, and you can give it a name. You need to save it. Click yes, and then let's call it append, and we just appended staff. Okay, so we know the job of this query was to get data from staff 2 and put them on table called staff. Click OK. Again, this is an action query, so don't try to open the query. The only queries you open are the select queries, but action queries, you don't open them. When you open them, you'll be like running it again. You don't run it again, it has already done its job. So what you need to do at this point is you open staff, see whether new records have been put there. Remember, staff table didn't have record, we had deleted them. Let's open them. Let's see whether this query has added those records back. Double click it, and here it is. Notice now staff has all the records back, but initially it didn't have the records. Okay, now let's close it. Let's do it once more, and then from there I'm gonna give you good time to practice working on those two types of queries. So let's go back to create, query design. Again, this time around, let me close this first. Let me close the query. Notice this time around staff as records and staff 2 as records, but staff 3 doesn't have records. So we are going to be picking data from staff here, and we are going to put those data on staff 3 using APPEND query. Let's do it. Close it. Let's go to create. You go to query design, and then you pick the table. Here you have to be very keen. Pick the table with the data. The table with the data here is staff. So you add, and then you click close. Then go to go to design menu and pick APPEND. We are running APPEND query. Pick APPEND, and then which table do you want to append? In other words, which table do you want to add those records from staff? You click here and you pick the one without record, and in this case it is staff 3. Staff 3 doesn't have any single record, so you pick staff 3 and then you click OK. And then now you can double click these fields, enter them on your query grid down below, contact, scroll up, we have staff, department, and we have position. Then you go to design menu and you run the query, and you are warned that it's about to append or to put records in another table, the table that you specified. You say yes, then you close the query, you save the changes, so you click yes, and to give it a name, let's call it delete. Sorry, this was append. Call it append staff 3. We were putting record on staff 3, which didn't have record. I click OK. There you are. So you're good to see the query here, staff 3, but do not open the query. This is an action query. You never get to open action query, because when you open them, you're running the process again. And you don't want to do that. It has already done the job. So what you need to do is we need to go to staff 3. Let's see whether there are new records there. We didn't have records before. Let's see whether there are records. Double click staff 3 to open, and here you go. So you have your records back. So this is the easiest way. If you delete records from one table, and if you have two tables that are similar, and you delete records from one table, you can run a query that will pick records from the table that does have record and put those records in the table that you had already deleted. In such a case, you use APPEND query. Great. We've really covered a lot in this video lesson. You've learned how to create queries, starting with selection queries. You've learned how to work with delete query, and you've learned how to work with make table query, and you've learned how to work with APPEND query. So here's what I want us to do. I'm giving you assignment right now. First of all, first assignment, I want you to do everything that you've done. I want you to practice, come up with, if you haven't done that, come up with 2 make table query that are going to delete data from staff. Okay, but don't delete all the data from, you come up with make table query that is going to produce copies of staff table. Run one that you create, that you will create a copy of staff and call the copy staff 1, run another one that you call this the copy stuff 2 if you haven't done that. Then after that, run another query that is going to delete data in stuff 2 and stuff 3. Okay, run another query, this time round delete query, that will delete data in stuff 2. Then run another one that will delete data in stuff 3. Okay, and then after that, now run an append query that will pick data from stuff which already has data and put that data in stuff 2. And you run another one that will pick data from stuff and put that data in stuff 3. You will have basically practiced what you just done in this video lesson. And then I would encourage you, open your own brand new database and try to do it again on your own. Now, if you open a new database, I want to warn you about something that is going to happen. And let me show you what's going to happen so that when it happens, you don't get to worry. If I close this database and then I open it again and I try to run action queries, they might not run. You're going to get a message telling you that part of the object in this database have been blocked. You will have to unblock them. Let me show you what I mean. Let's close this database. I close it. Then let's open it again. I can actually come here. I can just click up File Explorer. I open File Explorer. In the database, I know it was created in documents. Oftentimes, if you don't specify where you want something to be saved, it will be saved in documents. And sometimes the computer can even place them here on recent files. Here it is the database, Kenya Medical Training College. If you don't find it here, go to documents and then scroll to look out for it. You will find it in your documents. You scroll, you're looking for Kenya Medical, here it is. So double click to open it. I open it. Now, can you see this message? Security warning. Some active content has been disabled. Click for more details. Close this. Now, if I don't click enable content and I try to create and run a delete query, the delete query will not work. Let's try. I'm going to ignore that message and I'll try to run a delete query. Let's see that the delete query will work. So go to create and I'm going to go to query design and then I try to delete records in staff. Okay, so click staff. Let's try to delete records in staff 3. So click staff 3. I want to delete records there. I'll click add. I will click close. And then I'm going to go to design and I'm going to pick delete query. Okay, because I want to run a delete query. And then I'm going to click this asterisk. Remember the procedure. You click the asterisk, hold down the left mouse button, you drag, you drop it there. Okay, and then I'm going to enter these fields: serial number, staff name, staff ID, contact, staff email, and then department and position. And then now I can now run the query. Let's see whether the query will work. You go to design and then you run. Notice this message down here: the action or event has been blocked by disabled mode. So this query will not work. Even if I run it again, I go to design and then I run it again. Notice what is going to happen here. You're going to see a message here. Let's click run. There you go. Can you see this message? This message tells you that you can't run this query. Why? You were supposed to enable content before you run the query. This happens when you create a database, you close it, then you open it again. When you open it again, unless you click enable content on this warning, you cannot run action queries. So if I close this and I save it, let's call it trial delete. I save it, I click OK, and I go back to see whether data has been deleted from staff 3. It's still there. All the tables have data, none has been deleted. Why? Because the query didn't work. So why am I showing you this? Because if you close your database and then you open it again, you might run those queries and you may wonder why they are not working. So to make it work, what do I need to do? On this message, you click enable content. You click enable content. Once you click enable content, now you can run your action queries. So if you close your database, you open your database again, I want you to know that append query will not work, delete query will not work, and make your table query will not work. Select query can work, but append query, delete query, make table query will not work until you click enable content. They will be blocked, right? Now that you've enabled the content, let's see now whether they work. First of all, this trial didn't work, so we can remove it. The trial query, we can delete it. I just right click it and delete it because it didn't work anyway. So click yes. Let's now do the query again and let's see now whether it will work. So click create menu. I go to query design and we want to delete data from staff 3. I'll click add and then I'll close. I will go to design and then I'm going to pick delete. Then I'm going to click this asterisk. I'll drag and drop it down there, and then let's now enter the fields on the query grid: staff, email, department, and position. And now let's run the query. You go to design, you click run, and now notice the query has worked. Okay, so you click yes, and then let's give it a name. We close it, we click yes, and then let's call it trial, or let's call it successful. Delete staff 3, just to know that we are deleting data in staff 3, and since now the query has been successful, we could successfully delete staff 3. Click OK, and now let's go to staff 3 and let's see whether the query has done its job. You double click and here you are, the query has done its job. So I wanted to show you that because the moment you create your database, then you open it again, action queries may not work, and you should not be surprised. All you need to do is when you get the message security warning enable content, just click enable content, and now you'll be able to work with your action queries. That said, take your time, master working with selection queries, working with make table queries, working with delete queries, working with append queries. And in the next video lesson, we are going to do one more query, and then from there I'm going to show you how to work with reports, and you'll be winding up with Microsoft Access package. So take your time, practice, really get good at this. You're gonna need to use this database program or database programs to organize your data at your workplace. Regardless of where you will work, you are going to need to have database in that organization, that institution. Even if you're working in a church, you're going to have a database whereby probably you want to know the number of assets that you have, maybe the number of the high cost that you have. You might need to know the number of chairs that you have, the number of office staff that you have, the number of church members that you have, and you're going to need to create a database and keep all that information there. It's going to be very, very useful for you wherever you will go to work. So this is very important. So give it your best. All right, practice, 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 and I'll see you in the next video lesson as we wrap up on this package.